All right. Hello and welcome, folks. As always, back to our Money Wisdom podcast series. I'm Nick Colantuno, certified financial planner here in our Boston offices.
And my name is Jake Dozer, certified financial planner in our Connecticut offices.
Jake, we're going to have a party today because we are talking all about Medicare. And we're going to try to talk all about Medicare in just 10 minutes. So let's see how well we can do. I'll start. Medicare, first of all, is the government subsidized health insurance plan for folks who are, generally speaking, at or near retirement. So when are you eligible? Right. And this is kind of the low hanging fruit. So I'll start with this one. I'll let you talk about the more complex things, Jake. But everyone out there, you're eligible for Medicare coverage at 65, literally the first day of the month you turn 65. So that's when you can start getting Medicare benefits. Now, again, enrollment, this is where it's a little more nuanced. You can actually enroll. There's a 7-month window for that normal enrollment. So again, you can do 3 months before that first month that you turn 65, 3 months after that month that you turn 65. Anyway, there's a lot to uncover, but Jake, why don't we take it from there? Let's try to explain Medicare as accurately as we can in about, the remaining 8 minutes here.
Yeah. So as Nick mentioned, you can be covered at starting at 65. You can enroll 3 months before, 3 months after, in the month of turning 65. And then obviously that's your initial enrollment. And then annual enrollment is mid-October through beginning of December. And so that's where, like, hey, you're renewing and you want to change options after retiring. That's when you'd enroll. So it's a pretty busy time of the year for Medicare agents, which technically all of our advisors are licensed Medicare agents. And we have Medicare firms that we refer folks to make sure they're picking the plan that's right for them. Because it's so nuanced, we focus on retirement planning and we partner with folks who focus only on Medicare planning. But that's sort of the enrollment process. Now, Medicare is broken down into a couple parts. So Part A, that's the part that's free. So Part A is going to be covering your hospital coverage. You can enroll in actually Part A and still work and be covered by a plan at work. And that's what most folks do. There are exceptions to that. Like if you have a high deductible health plan and you want to keep contributing to a HSA, a health savings account. Yeah. So what that would result in is you actually, in those rare instances, might want to not enroll in Part A. But in most instances, you want to enroll in Part A at 65, even if you don't need it yet. After Part A is Part B. So Part A covers hospitals. Part B covers doctors. And Part B starts at just under $200 a month and can be as much as $600 a month, depending on your income.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, what you just talked about, Part A, the hospitalization, the free part, keep in mind, like you mentioned, you've been paying for it through FICA, through those deductions for your whole life. Part B, again, a lot of people are shocked to realize, well, my Medicare premiums are based on my income. So I know we're always talking about how to spend the money that you've saved in retirement. So keep in mind, folks, if you're taking money out of your tax-deferred retirement accounts, the IRAs, the 401ks, that money hits you as income. Those withdrawals could be putting you into an area where your Medicare premiums will actually go up. There can be even more of a trickle down, right? The take home on your Social Security will go down. The pension will go down. Your capital gains tax bracket can go up. So there's a lot of repercussions, if you will, of having taxable income. But Medicare premiums are often the biggest one. So again, Part A, Part B, that's what's referred to as the original Medicare. And then from there, you can get into the supplemental plans. That's where we talk about Part C. Those are the Medicare Advantage plans, right? Now, again, if you go that route, you have to have Part C in lieu of A and B.
Right.
So if you have Part C, you basically opted out of the federal involvement in your healthcare. Now you're dealing exclusively with a private insurance company, for better or for worse. So again, why would people go that Medicare Advantage route? Well, it typically has a lower monthly cost than the original Medicare. But the other side of the coin is you often end up with higher out-of-pocket costs. So a lot of people, if you haven't done the savings into the HSAs, as you mentioned before, those, which again, in order to contribute to an HSA, you have to be covered by a high deductible health plan. And as you mentioned, Medicare is not a high deductible health plan. So again, if you don't want those large out-of-pocket costs, which again, if you don't have the HSAs where you can get money for health expenses on a tax-free basis, well, maybe you're taking that money out of your 401ks or your IRAs, which now results in more income, which can now result in higher premiums. Again, a whole trickle down thing. So there's really a lot to unpack here. But again, whenever you're now dealing with those advantage plans, you have to determine whether or not the doctor that you've been going to for 20, 30 years is in network or not. And that's usually one of the biggest issues that we see with the original, Medicare coverage. Then you get into Part D. These are prescription drug coverage. So again, you're not automatically enrolled into this when you sign up. You have to actively go out and find a Part D plan from a private insurance company. So costs here, pretty reasonable. $50 a month is typically what we're seeing. But again, there can also be certain out-of-pocket expenses for some drugs that you might be taking, especially if they're on the experimental side of things or just higher price side of things. So this is where we get into supplements. Talk to us about supplements, Jake.
Yeah, so you have the choice to either have A, B, supplement, and D, or you have Medicare Advantage. And I think that really this is where you take these concepts and say, okay, I kind of understand generally the lay of the land. Now I need to talk to a Medicare agent, because it doesn't matter. Because remember, in health insurance, there's a lot of costs that are moving. You got monthly premium. You have copay, which is the amount you pay every time you see the doctor, no matter what. You have co-insurance, meaning like your split of what you pay. You have a deductible, meaning you pay everything up to your deductible. And then you pay co-insurance after that until your final number, out-of-pocket max. And so these terms are before retirement and in retirement on Medicare. These terms apply. They're mixed together differently depending on if you take A, B, supplement, and D, or Medicare Advantage. Talk to a Medicare agent who's independent, who doesn't just represent one company, because you want to make sure you're getting a plethora of options about your specific circumstance, and make sure that it fits into your larger retirement plan, because you don't want your medical expenses, planned or otherwise, to shipwreck your retirement.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And again, in this day and age, there's a lot of ways to get medical coverage, medical treatment. So if you are out there listening and you're into some of these maybe alternative types of medicine, whether it's, again, basic things like chiropractors or acupuncturists, things like that, keep in mind that stuff isn't really covered by Medicare. Nor so are the really kind of the larger healthcare expenses that our clients will be faced, whether it's long-term care needs, assisted living, nursing home, memory care units, some of those things that can really just derail a retirement plan if you don't have those addressed. So all this to say, Jake, we should be giving people our Are You Ready to Retire starter kit. So folks, if you're ready to retire, or if you're thinking about whether or not you're ready to retire, this is for you. Text the word KIT, KIT, to 800-757-0436, and we'll get that Are You Ready to Retire starter kit right out to you. So again, text us, KIT, KIT, to 800-757-0436, and we'll get that out to you. So clearly, folks, a lot to unpack. Jake, I appreciate your insight on this. You're a little more versed in this stuff than I am. So that's why we work together as a team on everything. So folks, thank you as always for joining us on our Money Wisdom podcast. Feel free to subscribe to our channel. We don't want you to miss any of our awesome content in the future. And if you found this helpful, share it with a friend. So not only will we see you next time, hopefully we'll see them as well. So thank you as always for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Johnson Brunetti is a marketing name for the businesses of JB Capital and JN Financial. Investment advisory services offered through JB Capital LLC. Insurance products offered through JN Financial LLC.